of the war in Vietnam?
We don't like it. No?
Snappy, you think?
I've elaborated enough, you know. That's, just don't like it.
It's, you know, it's just war's
Don't like
wrong.
war.
Well, it's obvious it's wrong, and that's all there is to be said about it. You can elaborate in England.
I have a question for...
Well, we could do.
I have a question for Paul. I don't know if you know about it yet, but two young ladies threatened to jump to their death from the 22nd floor of a hotel here in Manhattan if they could see you. How do you feel about young girls acting this way?
If they can see me.
They wanted to see you. If you would come over, they wouldn't jump. Police finally rescued them. They threatened to jump unless you came over.
I don't understand it. Silly. It's silly. I'll see him. You know. Jump.
Will the Beatles be inactive when John goes on location for the motion picture?
Yes. I'm only doing it because we've got a holiday. I wouldn't do it if we had any work. We're not out of work.
When you arrived at the airport and there were only 9 girls waiting to meet you, were you disappointed, and do you think that's a reflection of a loss of popularity?
Yeah,
in this
we're
country?
real broke down.
Really disappointed. 3 o'clock in the morning. They expect it.
Do John and George smoke cigars? I noticed that Ringo and Paul are smoking cigarettes.
No, they smoke cigarettes.
Do you all smoke cigarettes?
Yeah.
No cigars?
No.
Now that Paul is the only bachelor Beatle, do you find that the girls gravitate more to him than they do to the rest of you fellas? How do you feel about that?
Well, they always did.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we found after all this business that those little buttons that say "I love Ringo, I love John's" were outselling everyone's.
Well, that was just sympathy.
That was sympathy.
This is to Paul and John. Do you think happiness is really egg-shaped, or is it just a rumor from the Egg Marketing Magazine? Actually, it means that they think happiness is real or just a fantasy.
It's real, all right.
Depends how the eggs are cooked. That was about as good as this.
Ringo, now that George has joined John and Paul in writing songs, are you going to start writing your own songs?
No.
Why not?
I can't write them. I try, but it's loaded rubbish.
On your new album, Revolve, I noticed a lot of violins and even trumpets. How
Very
come?
observant. There were...
How come you decided to use violins and trumpets?
I think there were 3 violins on the whole album, and 3 trumpets. So we're not exactly going overboard on them, It's not. We don't use them all that much, but it was just that those tracks sounded better with violins and with trumpets than with us, That's the only reason we used them.
This one to John, please. Any remarks whatsoever on some of the recent remarks attributed to you and the Beatles concerning religion?
Well, I think I've said enough about that. I can't say any more. I'm just sort of going over the same thing over again. A lot of it's just a lot of rubbish and a lot of it's serious.
To John and Paul, it's been said that Lennon and McCartney may someday replace the names Rodgers and Hammerstein. Have you ever considered discontinuing performing and instead just keep on writing?
No.
How would you plan to perform?
I mean, when we're 80, we won't be performing. We may be writing.
And we don't want to be Rodgers and Hart, either.
This is to all of you. You seem to be doing a Bob Dylan in reverse. That is, you started out, you became popular playing rock and roll, and now you seem to be doing a lot more folk rock. Would you care to comment on that?
Folk rock? It's not folk rock, honest. Somebody said that the other day.
Songs like Eleanor Rigby and...
No, the thing is that thing about Bob Dylan's probably right, because in reverse, because we're getting more interested now in the content of the song, whereas Bob Dylan is getting more interested in rock and roll than he ever was. It's just, we're both going towards the same thing, I think.
Paul, please.
I believe you have just recently purchased a farm in Scotland. Have you any intention of purchasing any property in the United States?
No, I just bought that farm because it was very cheap, and I always wanted a farm. It's a nice place, but that's as far as it goes.
The question is to John and Paul. Is there any special significance to the use of the term yellow submarine?
No, not really. It's a happy place, that's all. It was just, we were trying to write a children's song. That was the basic idea, and there's nothing more to be read into it than there is in the lyrics of, any children's song. Sparky, it's the same kind of thing. Sparky, right.
2 years ago, I traveled with you as a group, and this time around you seem to be much more quiet, much more restrained. Do you think you're getting older, or is the press getting to you?
I think we're probably getting older, each year.
I've got older.
How do you think Prime Minister Wilson's austerity program is going to affect London as the capital of rock and roll, and what's it going to do to you financially if the pound's devalued?
We don't know. We don't know what he's done yet because we've been away. We've seen a bit of it, If it affects us, that's all right.
I must say you're a cute-looking bud.
Gee, thanks.
I'd like to ask you sort of a personal question. Do you bring your own
focus, the press conferences, the screaming girls, the crowds, and decide that you would like to just sit back on your fat wallets and forget the whole thing?
Well, when we feel like that, we take a fat holiday on our fat wallet. And then you get fed up with that and you feel like coming out and doing this.
This question is addressed to all of you. How would you describe the reception you received on this trip to the States? Has it increased, diminished, or remained the same?
The actual numbers of people recepting, or whatever the word is bigger. So I hear.
Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, Brian knows.
We're playing to more people on this trip said that, rather
It was me. Well, you know about that anyway, we could say a thing about, like John's.
or here or in England?
We haven't noticed.
This is to George and Ringo.
Okay, he's got to change his tape.
I think that with the new miniskirts and wild fashions that young women are exposing too much these days.
No. You get quite used to it. It's not as wild as you think it is. When it's sort of everybody's wearing clothes like that, it just looks normal, You get used to it. Same as people got used to long hair.
When you go to San Francisco, then, will you visit some of the topless restaurants?
No, we'll only be there long enough to do the concert and then fly back to Los Angeles.
Well, they could come to the show. We get them a couple of tickets.
They could dance on stage while we do our act.
No, we wouldn't be able to do that.
What music do you listen to for relaxation?
Oh, all sorts of.
All kinds of music. I don't think any one of us has got. Except, George is mainly interested in Indian music, and we all share the interest, and like all other kinds of music as well. Good music, that's all you can say.
In the past, you've shaped trends in music, hair, and clothing
I didn't do it anyway,
I was just doing an interview. That's all I was trying to do.
I understand you're going to start a new film next year. Can you tell us what it'll be like?
There's no definite thing yet. Somebody's writing a script, and it depends on whether the script is good as to what the film's like. We don't know yet.
Paul, what's with you and Jane Asher?
What?
What's with you and Jane Asher?
Fine. What's with us?
What's that mean?
What do you mean by that?
Lady?
Here's a question for the entire group. I noticed that Brian Epstein is sitting up on the platform with you gentlemen. Yeah. After all these years, how are the Beatles and Brian getting along, especially aside from the financial considerations that you're all going to be enjoying?
We get on fine.
Good friend. He wouldn't be sitting on the stage with us now if he didn't.
He'd be sitting on his fat wallet somewhere.
This is directed to all the Beatles. If it could be arranged, would you like to include in your 67 or 68 European concert itinerary concerts in the satellite capital countries such as Warsaw, Moscow, and Budapest? Can you answer that, please?
Oh, we can't, you know. We'd like...
Personally, I wouldn't like to play there because I just don't fancy going there at the moment. There's lots of other places I'd rather see first.
Oh,
but that's a personal thing, you know. Nothing to do with the others.
These are now the last three questions.
I got a tough question for Ringo. Your boy is a year old next month, right? In September?
Yeah.
What kind of gift does he want for his birthday?
Well, how do I know? He's not talking yet.
Do you feel responsible for the mod fashion revolution in the United States?
The what?
The mod.
We haven't noticed it.
Fashion. We're not responsible for ourselves, never mind fashions and things
Oh,
like
that's done it. Mental as well, eh?
A couple of years ago, you said that you were most influenced by people such as Chuck Berry, Laverne Baker, etc. And now that they're more or less over the hill as far as pop music is concerned,
They were
that's the
then.
first question. Well, who do you admire now? You mentioned Indian music for John. Any pop stars? Yeah, right. Are there any pop stars in the United States today that still influence you? And number two, what about the downfall and how close is it, do you think? And what plans are you making?
We like a lot of American groups still, you know. We still like Chuck Berry. I haven't burnt his records or anything. And the Loving Spoonful are nice, you know, of the new people. Beach Boys are great. We like a lot of things and, you know, are influenced by a lot of everything that's going on.
Especially Bill Haley.
What about the downfall?
What about it? Well, the downfall won't be a downfall for us because we won't really
feel down.
We won't feel down. The downfall will only be for all those people who think, the Beatles aren't making hit records anymore. We won't particularly be worried, so it won't be a downfall.
To it?
No, not
getting out of all this?
We don't sort of dread it. It's just something that...
When it happens, we'll accept it.
Ringo, do you have any comments on fatherhood?
Well, it's okay, you know. That's about all. I like it.
You like it all right?
Yeah, it's great. I'm not living son. Love it.
This must be the last question. Very time-wise.
One of the disc jockeys in the local area said that one of the songs, I believe it was Rain, was recorded backwards. The last few bars. Is this true? And if so, whose idea was it?
It is true. And after we'd done the session on that particular song, it ended about 4 or 5 in the morning. I went home with the tape to see what else you could do with it. And I couldn't, I was sort of very tired and not knowing what I was doing really. And I just happened to put it on my own tape recorder and it came out backwards. And I liked it better. So that's how it happened.
I'm afraid that has to be the last question time-wise because there is another conference at 6:30.